Perth preview for the big day, and we've got an exciting panel, and we've got a painfully familiar face to me. Daniel Cripps might have knocked me off in the grand final 15 years ago by 3 points, but that's irrelevant. So, Kev, introduce our very special guest.
Look, to most WA viewers or WA racing followers, they'll know the name Daniel Cripps. So Cripper, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Know you've got a pretty busy schedule this afternoon. Off to coaching premiership winning side again.
Yeah, nah, thanks, Kev. Thanks for the kind words. It's been a long time in the making, but yeah, I feel like that's women's coaching first and racing second at the moment. So, nah, it's all good. Looking forward to QUOKKA Day.
Yeah, awesome. How you found the card? Exciting or a little bit underwhelming?
Won't lie, it was a little bit underwhelming, especially the support races. I feel like it's a card littered with either odds-on pops or even money pops. And then sort of mixed in with a few races that I found really, really tough. So there wasn't a happy medium, unfortunately, but happy to discuss it nonetheless.
Awesome. And Toby, welcome again. Here to bat on to another week.
Yep, here for the biggest day of the autumn. Very underwhelming support act, like Cripper touched on, and then you've got two pretty clear or clearish standouts in a couple of the feature races, and then the Joey looks a big fat lottery job.
Awesome.
Fair enough.
And Aaron, let's take it away.
Wow, you just want to take over host, Kev? I'll just
Sorry.
sit in the background. But well, if anyone's not familiar with Cripper, he's obviously an established professional punter and has been for some time, and runs a very successful service himself. So you're welcome to plug that at any time as well, Cripper. Um, that's about right along. But one thing I do want to mention with this card, I went back and reviewed this meeting last year. So obviously on a 3 meter row, we've got sort of light, sort of mild easterlies around. Expect the track to play pretty fast. When I went back and reviewed this meeting last year, very identical conditions. Obviously, same rail position, very similar wins. Track speeds spat out about a 2.8. 8 out of 10 winners were rails in run, and for one of those races where they didn't win, the second horse was rails in run and just got pipped on the line. So, I'm not suggesting it's going to play like that on Saturday, but I just think it's worth noting. So, Toby, how do you think the track will play on Saturday?
Yeah, not like that, certainly. I
Yeah.
don't think we'll have 8 out of 9 settling rails in run, or 8 out of 10 this meeting, but they've done a good job really evening this track up and making it a really fair surface throughout the year, hoping that that translates to the same at Belmont when we go back in 3 weeks' time. But I'm expecting gentle easterlies, rail threes, been a pretty good position. Probably, I'm going to say very even, maybe a slight leaning to on speed. But that's just my personal choice anyway.
Crippo, have you got a lean with the 3 meter rail where you want to settle in run?
I think Toby just hit the nail on the head. Not so much a lean on the bias, but more a personal preference. Definitely won't be a disadvantage to be on speed. So as always, will be focusing on horses that are definitely forward in midfield.
You've always leaned to one speed horses, haven't you?
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And especially like with the Easterly is the main thing.
Yeah.
Just can't imagine horses would not want to be backing horses that sort of settle like right back. They might be able to make a run from midfield, but settle in the first 4 or 5, and I reckon you're halfway home.
Beautiful. Race one over the 1600 Western Power, which I think was Kev's best bet last week. That saluted $2.75, Trev Pike 360, Blazing Emerald 4, Without Reg 7, Zephyr 750. One I can't pronounce is double figures. Expect Blazing Emerald to burn across and find the front, Toby.
Yeah, I'd say so. Don't think there's anyone this week that'll want to take it off her because she was pretty content just to sit last week when one came looking, but I don't think that'll happen here. Western Power looked like he wanted to find a spot last week, wasn't able to, sat through wide. Think this race they just have to own it and go to the breeze. Suspect Zephyr hands up. So that's how they've been riding her, even though she's gone good leading him without cover, even this prep. Trio probably going to end up last no matter what. Without Reg, probably 1-1. Pretty tricky race to start proceedings. Blazing Emerald, while she hasn't really been running any time, she's continued being really consistent. Beat Fine Touch on a no, Fine Touch beat her last start. Forget that. She beat Stylish Lord last start, who she'd beaten the start before. I didn't like the form reference going in, but they Quinella it anyway. Probably gets a pretty soft lead. Brad Parnham goes on, rides leaders really well. Still just haven't been able to catch her and don't think I want to here. Western Power looks pretty progressive for this sort of grade. He sat 3 wide last start. The Breeze is probably a better spot again here. Trio, Shades go back on after a disappointing run last start. The 2 runs prior were both really good at a mile. So getting back to the mile here should help, but last in a slow tempo, probably not going to aid him greatly.
Cripper, what do you like in race 1?
It's one of those races with the small fields. I always find it hard to find some good value when, the markets are still close to 130%, but there's just not a heap of forces that can take up any percentage that they shouldn't be. I think probably all of these could win without a complete shock. I did have Western Power on top, but I was sort of closer to $3.50, so the sub $3 won't get me. I actually really liked the ride from CJP last start. I know he got posted, but CJP in the past has frustrated me by trying to be too cute. So I just love the fact that he knew he was on the best horse and made ride like the best horse. They didn't go overly fast, but while that Western Power is progressive, I think this field is a bit better than a horse like So Lucky. So looking forward to seeing how he measures up. Gun to head, if I had to have a bet, I'd probably be on Without Reg. No, he got the job done last start. Actually had something on him and backed it as low as $7, so it was pretty bittersweet when I saw it. Paid $16 on the exchange. It was some pretty poor punting on my behalf, but just matched to get a gun run again. Wasn't really a flash in the pan either last start. The 2 runs ago was really good. He beat a company, so matched to get the run of the race. Can't see why he wouldn't run well again.
Kev, race 1, what are we doing?
Yeah, look, the price is skinny enough now, but I did have Western Power on top. I think he's just the horse that's probably got the most upside over the rest of the short field. Like the boys touched on, he was 3 deep, no cover last start, and yeah, I think that was just his talent that got him across the line. He didn't blow him away or anything like that, but at the same time, I think Western Power will improve to a mile as well. He'll sit outside of Blazing Emerald, and from there, I think Clint can just control things. Obviously, Brad going on for Pike on Blazing Emerald is no disadvantage. He's one of the better front riding riders in the state, so it's always scary. Trio never has really been a blinkers horse, so it almost feels like a bit of a shock from Grant Alana chucking the blinkers on when Pike could just do, normal Pike things and just sit out the back and, pounce when he can. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting move from GNA, but why would you question them?
Never doubt them.
Why would you question them on grand final day for the stable? So yeah, it's an interesting race. I think Western Power's my on topper for sure. I think I prefer him to a mile, and I think he can really start to go on with it.
Yeah, I've got it on top as well, but I'm not sure it's a bet at $2.75. I mean, it was an easier bet last start at $3 against a weaker, wasn't it? And like Cripper said, just ride it like the best horse. But it does have a nice platform here, being third up, getting up to the 1600. So it's a certainly an interesting runner. Race 2 of the 1,000, talking gibberish for Zach Lloyd, $2.20, Wicked Venom, $4.60 on the field, also $4.60 Inside Success, and Cryptic Joy, both $9.50, longer the rest. And I think you'd assume by default Talking Gibberish will find the front, Toby, but this Esperance horse does have the early speed ratings to actually cross it. I'm not expecting it to, but does it put any pressure on?
I don't think enough pressure to undo Talking Gibberish. She likes running fast. Just don't open her up too much early and just let her build into her cruising speed, and I think she'll reward you for that. As long as she draws underneath the other speed horses and can just hold the front, I think that really suits her. Obviously, scratched last week or a fortnight ago with the hoof abscess isn't ideal. But if she is right, she should probably be taking care of these with the setup. Just Wicked Venom, trialled real nice. Just hard to back him when he's going to be last. And the most likely winner is going to be in front. Inside Success probably has the speed to hold leaders back. Is a really nice horse on his day, but didn't come up at all last prep, and the recent trial left a bit to be desired. But no shock if he did come out and beat her. I wouldn't be backing him because you'd have to be hoping he's at his best rather than thinking he's at his best. And on the full, went really, really good last week. Held the front in the clear quickest 1,000-meter time on a day with 4,000-meter races.
Yeah.
Don't think it finds the front here, which I think makes it a bit harder.
Cripper, 1,000 meters. What do you like?
I thought Talking Gibberish looked a huge risk at $2.20 or around that price. As Toby said, scratched last week with a hoof abscess. Form before last start was really good, but was a little bit disappointed with his last start effort. Been up for a while now, so yeah, I mean, he can definitely win without mine on at that price. And also, you're looking to bet around it, but I mean, scratch last week, you got that slight concern if you do bet and then it comes out in the morning and you just pop a massive deduction for a horse that I think should be a lot longer. So, yeah, one of those races I was pretty keen to shoulder arms to. Wicked Venom was the one for me, but like Toby said, just trialled well, but Barry 7 looks really sticky. Betting a horse from near last over 1,000 early in the day at Ascot, it just looks a recipe for disaster. So leave me out of it. I think on the full looks pretty short too.
Yeah, we've got the trial perv on with Wicked Venom here with Kev, but Talking Gibberish, it's, what is it, 9th up into this preparation, saying at 1,000 off the issue. It's potentially a vulnerable favourite.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could say last week was a little let up.
It's coming in fresh.
It's coming in fresh. Look, I think the big thing here is, Chris off is normally, alarm bells, but you're getting Zach Lloyd, who, over in Sydney holds his own, well enough. I think he's riding a few of Luke's on the card, which for me is a sign of intent from Luke Fernie. He's obviously gone out of his way to get Zach Lloyd on to a few of his runners this week. I think we've spoken about it before. Talking Gibberish is a much, much better horse when she finds the paint. I think she'll find it with significant ease. On the full is, like Toby touched on, ran really well last week or last start. I just don't think it's got the gate speed to try and take it on early. 220 is a bit of it's one of those grey areas where do you just take the 220 and assume that she's come through those feed issues from last week or whenever she was supposed to run, because the tail of this race is really, really long, despite it only being an 8-horse field. So I think Wicked Venom was a good trial led, which was against its normal race day pattern. But for me, I found it really hard to go past Talking Gibberish, but then I found it really hard to take 220. So it's a bit of a grey up. I wouldn't be surprised if some tried to take her on late just with those question marks on her. But I'd be pretty happy to back Zach Lloyd to get the best out of her on Saturday.
Could be an interesting yard horse on the day for Toby.
Yeah,
Wicked Venom.
Definitely.
Race 3 of the 1,800 beat Bardo for Pike, $2.20. Memory Parade, $4. Grand Reserve, $5.50. Fine Touch, $7. Henchard, $11. Along with the other couple, Fine Touch looks to come across with Grand Reserve potentially behind lead. And Henchard might be in play with a reasonable map, Toby.
Yeah, I thought Grand Reserve would hold up here,
okay.
Especially with the Eastern State jock on. I feel like they just will be a bit more aggressive, a lot of them, because they do that better than us here. Thought it'd hold Fine Touch out. Thought Henchard, if they were trying, not to say that if they go to the fence they're not, but I would think if they're trying their hardest, they would stay off the fence. That'd leave B Bardo one spot further back. Memory Parade from there, interesting to see if she tries to rail up and get a bit closer, or probably not after last week. And then Strike Now and Emerald Trader will be your last two, unless they want to rail up and be potentially lead us back with a few of the others not wanting to be there. B Bardo was a pretty good winner a fortnight ago. She got the race turned on for a little bit. She sort of almost looked like she was probably going to get there. Only won by a length. The length is a decent win, but sort of only won by a length against weaker opposition. Smaller field probably suits the weaker tempo, maybe doesn't. Memory Parade, probably you could say she was a good thing beat last week, but I just think the way the race was run, it was always going to sort of be what happens. You just get those slowly run races where everything's still traveling and you can't really push your way out. And I don't want to bonus her too much for a run like that when she's sort of always going to be back in those type of positions. Can she win? Sure, but is she short enough when I don't think she's really an apprentice horse? Definitely. Henchard at the moment was probably the only real value for me. I really think he's been building towards something. Run fresh out of his grade was decent, and then the run last start was, I'd argue, better than Fine Touch given the tempo. So if he can be that bit closer and off the fence and present at the right time, I think he's getting close to a win.
Yeah, B Bardo looks a bit skinny. It's gone 10 lengths slow to the 800 for class last start. Had to pull out 6.5 lengths quick for the 4 home for class to win. That seems skinny for me to take $2.20. Cripper, what do you like here?
I did like B Bardo. Look, not rushing to get on her at $2.20. It was similar to what I marked her, but she just looks your typical Grant Alana progressive type. Super first up, albeit in a weak form race. No luck second up. Last up, she was really good, ridden cold, and she just had them covered a fair way out. I thought this is harder, but as you guys said, map's closer, small field. How many times do we see it? They just Grant Alanas, they just keep raising the bar. So I also agree with both of you, but with Henchard, I'm surprised that he's longer in the market than Fine Touch, has a stronger starting price profile. Thought the run was as good, if not better, and gets a 2 kilo swing. So yeah, he was actually came up slight overs in my market. So sort of see where you guys are coming from there. Probably again not rushing to get on just because I do think B Bardo's the winner, but Henchard is the value. Memory Parade, agree. We'll just take that horse on just with the apprentice going on for a senior. And the one that really surprised me is how short Grand Reserve is. Mark that horse triple what he currently is. I was closer to $15 and currently $5. So that's the race for me.
It'd be interesting to see what B Bardo SPs because the market's liked it virtually its whole career. Kev, what are you doing?
No action for me in this. Surprise, surprise. But the one horse that I do want to just keep eyes on going into the Belmont season, and I think its run first up was really good. Especially it was a lot better than it reads on paper, and that's Emerald Trader. Looking forward to that horse getting to a bigger, wider track out at Belmont. So just keep an eye on how that runs on Saturday, and then take that into a fortnight or 3 weeks' time where I imagine it'll line up somewhere like that.
Beautiful. Race 4 of the 1400 deferred for Tim Clark, $2.60. Great Fortune, first up $4.80. Siberian Siren, $5. Love a Session for Pike, $6.50. Double figures, the rest. And this is an interesting map. But just before you go to the map, Toby, you guys have mentioned a couple of the Eastern States jockeys. They're on some favourites. I get a bit nervous with some of them that they're not that they're not trying, but it's like test pilot. Where's the best ground?
You'd want them, especially.
I get nervous with their first ride.
Yeah, they're especially on a back marker like deferred.
Yeah.
I think she has no choice but to sort of be last. And that's not an easy spot when I don't think there's going to be. I don't think they'll go slow. I just don't think they'll go overly fast. Siberian Siren probably holds up. Great Fortune. Works to the OSL, and then the ones drawn in sort of hold their spots a bit, and those drawn out file back, including deferred. So I thought she would be last, and I thought she was a pretty easy take-on job. Eastern States jockey, first ride of the day. They're good riders, but Ascot's a very different place to a lot of the tracks they have over there. So I know that the Eastern jockeys are a lot better track walkers than ours. That's a lot of them will sort of do the whole circuit rather than just the last 150. But um, it's not an easy track. J Max got it wrong before, so why can't anyone else? In saying that, didn't find a heap of value in this race. Didn't like Siberian Siren leading with the apprentice, or this apprentice in particular. I don't think he gets leading right all that often. Great Fortune, decent trial, short enough for first up. First up last prep he was solid, but really came into his own after that point. And I've already touched on deferred. Love a session. Doesn't win out of turn and goes up in grade here. It just wasn't a lot of value for me.
Cripper, we've got a favourite settling back. This screams interest from you.
I'm actually shocked with how short deferred is. I didn't even have her favourite. Been sort of taking her on all preparation. I think she'll go better once we get back to Belmont and we get a bit of rain, I think. Admittedly, she was better last start. I think that without reg form isn't too bad. But yeah, barrier 9 back to the last, $2.50. Looks probably a lay of the day. Yep. Great Fortune's a horse that interests me, this preparation. Maybe just not first up. I think he's the best horse in the race, but he wins his races from being he's a type of horse I love. He's a bold front running type. He goes hard and he can do it at both ends. So he's probably not the horse where he's going to maximise his greatest, I guess, ability first up when he might be a little bit soft. You'd probably rather back him second or third up once he gets the miles in the legs. So in saying that, I really liked his trial, and first up last prep, he was coming off a really long spell, whereas this is a more sort of, I guess, normal spell. So wouldn't surprise me at all if he sits in the breeze and he sprints well over 1400 and he's hard to catch. But again, sort of at sub $5. While I did have him favourite, I'm not rushing to be on. Didn't mind Siberian Siren, again, like the apprentice going on, but probably not as critical of that as a general rule when they lead. And an interesting horse is Hang Glider, first time out to 1400 metres. He can be a bit hit and miss, that horse, but his best is definitely good enough to win.
Yeah, it maps all right, doesn't it? I think that's a really good point with leaders. They improve out of sight with the run. So might be an interesting yarn horse for Toby there, how forward Great Fortune is, given how far deferred he's going to have to settle off it. And there's a sort of a limited bunch in and around them. Kev, what are we doing?
We're moving on.
Great batting. Love it. Race 5 of the 1400 6-inch heels for Lucy, which is putting a bit of a picket fence together there. $2 on Master, $2.65. And then double figures the rest. You start to rate your own ticket. Marsley, $11. Snippy Sean, 14. Big Shots, 15. Ranks with Tyler Schiller on $19. Marsley looks to hold up from the inside gate, Toby, but this was an interesting one to map, actually. Where have you got the favourite mapping?
Probably 1-1.
Okay.
I don't think she'll go to the fence because they actively avoided the fence last time. They drew low in a 1400 3-year-old plate.
Yeah.
So thought they'd stay off. Marsley leads. Awesome Boy goes to the breeze, and then she just holds her spot, and the rest of them do their best to make the most of what they can, because I don't think anyone will get the OSL away from Awesome Boy. He sat 3 wide, no cover last start. I think he goes better ridden on speed, so I think that's where they'll stay. Went into this race thinking, how can I get 6-inch heels beat? The manner in which she raced last time at 1400, where she just over raced a bit on a slower tempo, and now she's going to have to do it with 60. She was still pretty dominant that day. I just think now 5th up, 60 kilos at 1400. She's a lightly framed mare. I just wanted to get her beaten, but I really found it hard to find anything to beat her, considering Pond Master's $2.60 and going to be pretty close to last. If he'd drawn a gate, I really think he could have gone close to turning the tables, but probably would have been even shorter than this. So sort of only really left me with maybe Masterly, because he'll lead. Ranix, I would have liked to have drawn a gate. It was really unlucky last start. Love the trial, like it up to 1400, but it'll probably be a long way off them as well. Yeah, just another race where 6 Inch Heels probably wins, but she's well short enough considering those negatives.
Yeah, interesting what they do with Marsley because it raced a bit keen and went below average to the 800, so they might just let it run here. Cripper, what do you like here?
I think this is a genuine match race between, and the market sort of reflects that. Would be pretty shocked if one of 6 Inch Heels and Pondmaster didn't win this. I've sort of got everything else closer to 20 to 1 and above. But you can make a good case for Pondmaster based off their last run. Obviously, was really unlucky. Gets the weight swing, fit a second up. But I actually went into it really hoping that Pondmaster might have gone up closer to favourite because I was keen to be with 6 Inch Heels just because, as Toby said, the match is going to be even potentially had her in the breeze or 1-1 suits. Whereas Pondmaster, if they go back, well, then, yeah, straight away you've got that 5 or 6 legs advantage. And, yeah, it just doesn't look the right option for Pike to try and roll forward. So, yeah, it was a bit of a bummer when the odds went up. I was hoping that the sort of the Pike army might have piled in and the odds potentially flipped, but we didn't get it. So yeah, again, sort of a bit of a theme of the day so far. I'm quite keen 6 Inch Heels, but the current price of even money definitely won't get me. Also, I think the stewards should scratch Fun in Hollywood. Absolute joke that horse in the race.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is annoying that they have to go bad on a Saturday before they get restricted away. Like, just be proactive rather than reactive.
probably not enough laps on a race course for that one. Kev, what are you doing here?
I went the opposite way. I went with Pond Master. Look, the gate's obviously not ideal. That being said, everything the boys have touched on, I find it. I was actually hoping for a little bit better than what's on offer, just based on the SP profiles of the two horses. Um, Look, 6 Inch Heels has to carry 60 for the first time. Pondmaster gets a bit of a weight swing on it. Was really unlucky last start. I mean, it's one of those last start runs where it's just it's a flashing lights replay, which it doesn't surprise me that 265 is available because it's one of those runs that everyone's going to notice. It's a little bit sillier. It's a little bit quite like the Karikata with Yes Queen later in the card. So not surprised, but I just think up to 1400 is going to suit this horse. Pikes he's got the run on the board with it now. He'll probably present it, keep it out of trouble. I don't think he'll get stuck behind anything. He'll just need something in a 3 deep line to give him the toe in, and then we'll see if 6 Inch Heels can carry 60.
Race.
She's got to drop one soon, surely.
Would think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did go into that race last start, didn't we? Saying had it drawn inside gate 5, you'd probably take $1.40. The
Yeah.
gate was potentially the thing that would beat it. Now it's drawn gate 2, and Toby's got it mapping 1-1. So
Which, yeah.
Just have in my mind the way she raced last time at 1400, 1-1, and that was with 55. But
yeah,
and she didn't have.
What do you got with these two favourites last start? What, $2.20 and $8 SPs or something?
Yes.
It's going to be hard
Yeah.
for them to get too close. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting SP. We've got a few of them on the day. Race 6 over 1200. Yeah, righto. $3. Camera Action, $3.90. Shooting Spirit, $5.50. Canny Rock, $9.50. Becca Lotti, Finoski, $12. And another interesting map, really, Toby. We've got Becca Lotti, it's got some speed from the inside gate. Cheryl Shout from an outside gate, which is coming off some narrowage and stuff, but does have early speed. And you've got some
Yeah, I
speed
think
from
she'll
the middle
be.
to outside gates as well.
Yeah, I think Cheryl Shout will end up crossing to the front. Becca Lotti sat close in the trial. She trialled like she might be closer to her
Sorry,
best.
Kev's messaging me in the background that Pack and Moral just lobbed and we're all up and about.
Oh, excellent, outstanding. She tried a lot closer to her best. Didn't really come up last prep and grew up right out in trip, started winning races, but she trialled like she was, again, closer to her best. Thought she'd sit leaders back though. Zubolts, I thought, would come out with a few that lack a bit of gate speed in them, drawn lower, end up sort of one out, one back. Canny Rock, OSL Banks Avenue has some gate speed, but thought this was the kind of race where they would just go back because they won't get in. And then sort of funny with it, what happens underneath there with just how Katona doesn't really have much speed. Capital Express has missed away in 3 public appearances in WA. Camera Action doesn't have a heap of gate speed, and neither does Yeah Righto. But, one of them has to be 1 out, 2 back. Who gets the bounce on who with these 2 favourites could become quite important. I think more likely than not, Camera Action settles in front of Yeah Righto. Camera Action gets a big jock change here. Was good first up, quite unlucky second up. Probably not as unlucky as some people wanted to make it out like she was, but she was quite unlucky and was good. Back to 1200 here, gets the Eastern States jock, who I think will go better on her. Yeah Righto gets that to 1200. First up was enormous. Second up, nothing went right. If he's close enough and they're making a little bit of ground, I do think he's your most likely winner. There's just not a great deal of value at the moment between either of them.
Cripper, race over 1200. You got any interest here?
Look, not so much like the last race where I called it a dead set match race, but I did think Yeah Righto and Camera Action were the 2 to really hone in on. Going to before odds, I really wanted to be with Camera Action, mainly due to the jockey change. Look, I don't follow racing outside WA, but I do know that Tyler Schiller is a really nice upgrade from Keshaw, who, look, all due respect, he's probably he's struggling a little bit at the moment. So
I think that's fair.
I think that's fair, yeah. There was sort of $6.50 about, and to be honest, I was umming and ahhing about that price, and all of a sudden it just collapsed, and so the sub $4 looks definitely short enough now.
I've got a 3-minute screen recording of my $6.50 attempted bet at $6.50 processing. If you want to watch it later.
I'm surprised it lasted 3 minutes. It's
just the tab touch app. It's just improving every week.
Tab touch, yeah.
Come on, Brad, be better. So yeah, look, it's probably, if anything, at the current prices, would almost rather be with Yeah Righto. They actually clashed late last year, and Yeah Righto started a lot shorter and did beat that horse home. The other negative with Camera Action is probably the drop back to 1200. Would have preferred if this race was over 14. Interesting as well, though, that Toby touched on Becca Lottie, because that is a horse that also caught my eye. As he said, she didn't really come up last preparation until she got over basically a staying trip, but her fresh form from previous preparations would definitely be good enough to be really competitive in a race like this. And I concur with Toby. I thought her trial was quite slick, so actually a little bit disappointed with the price. I thought they might have missed her a little bit more, but yeah, $14, not the worst each way play, I don't think. Other than that, Shooting Spirit, not one of mine. We'll get back on day where I don't think you want to be back, so we'll take that horse on at $5.50, and then Canny Rock, month between runs with the bar plates on, so it does get pretty thin pretty quick.
Question for you, Cripper. So, Yeah Righto is $3.10 best available, and Camera Action $3.90 and 118% market. So, let's say you get $3.30 and $4.10. Would that be too skinny of a bracket for you to play in a 2-horse race?
A little bit skinny. So, just looking at my prices, I was $3.50 and $5 flat. So,
right.
That's why, yeah, the $6.50 was.
Sorry, not specifically this race, but in general, would that be too skinny for you to actually step into one and chop the other?
Oh, not in general. If I marked them kind of, $2.50 and $3 flat, like,
Yeah,
for example, if you went back to the last race, and I know it's a bit of a hypothetical, but
if you got the same prices in the previous race,
if
you'd be happy to step in.
$3.10 and Podmaster was $3.70, that'd probably be my biggest outlay race for the year. I'd be absolutely truck loading that. So more than happily with back 2 horses at that price, but just not these 2.
Yeah, it depends on the overlay, doesn't it? Kev, what do you like here?
Look forward to the next race.
The keen contributor is the K-man.
Right, I reckon he's gonna get really warm soon.
Yeah, he won't be able to stand up. He's going to be hiding behind the desk. He'll be barred up here. Karrakatta plate. One of the big ones of the day over 1,200. Yes Queen for Pike, $2.30. Talk and Co, the good horse, $3.70. Castle Road coming off the kill, leading last start, $11. Snitzelado for Lucy, $14. Perfect Sister, the Davy win, $19. God's Rapture, it gets Willow on $20, and you obviously get longer the rest. And you would have to assume after last start, Castle Road will go out and burn from the front. Yes Queen obviously draws significantly better than it did last start, Toby, and is obviously a key horse in terms of mapping on the day.
Yeah, look, I think Castle Road will more than likely lead. Just to Fly might try and kick up underneath him. Not sure if he's got the gate speed to do so or if that's their plan, but it certainly wouldn't shock me. Think with Talk and Co and Yes Queen drawn where they are, one of them probably ends up following the other or is directly outside the other. There'll be a mess of speed coming across from out wide. Really hard race to map beyond. I think Just to Fly or Castle Road will lead, and Yes Queen will be a lot closer to Talk and Co than 2 weeks ago. I said 2 weeks ago that I think Yes Queen is the best 2-year-old in the state. I'll stand by that off the runs. She went absolutely humongous, just peaked that last little bit. If she'd been a length closer to Talk and Co, she beats her, but the barrier dictated that that would not be the case. However, this start, she will be multiple lengths closer. I think there'll be plenty of speed on. I think she'll settle, and I think she'll probably win.
I like it. Concise. Cripper, Caracat plate, what are you doing?
No 2-year-olds for me, so I'll shoulder arms. But question for
You don't bet 2-year-olds at all, do you?
no 2-year-olds, no stayers. So no staying races on this card, which is nice.
Do
But
you
question
step
for you,
into
Toby.
2-year-olds later in the season at all when we get back to Belmont, sort of
Nah, not
July,
at all.
August?
It is a funny one because 31st of July, 2-year-old race won't do it, but 1st of August, they turn into 3-year-olds. And I'll sit down and pretend like I know all the 2-year-old form. So I'll just wait till August 1 and then I get stuck in. But so Toby, with that, $2.40, Yes Queen betting at that price?
Um, I would take it on the day for a full stake if it was still there, but it's not the kind of price that I'm absolutely desperate to launch into. She did start pretty firm, 280 last start with the tricky maps. So I know the boys are entered here, but all along people have thought the girls are a bit stronger. So don't know exactly what she does with the SP, but not absolutely desperate to launch in at 2.4.
That's fair enough. What's the thought process with the 2-year-olds, Cripper? Is it frequency of shin soreness and all that sort of stuff, or?
Yeah, definitely a little bit of that. Just obviously the inexperience, but probably more so. I definitely would say that trial watching wouldn't be a strength of mine. And so it normally gets to the first 2-year-old race of the season. And not only that, it's also so time consuming. So got to say that I wouldn't say I'm very good at, and it takes up a lot of time. So normally first 2-year-old race of the season goes in the too hard basket, and then yeah, never really recover from there.
Yeah, I've got a mate of mine that says when they start paying for first place in trials, I'll start watching them, which is fair enough. Kev, I reckon you're going to be pretty warm on this race.
Yeah, pretty warm. Yes Queen, again, I mentioned it earlier in the show. Just flashing lights run. No one's going to miss it. Toby mentioned it was pretty firm last start. That's true. So I can't imagine them coming for much else. I
Best
think
horse in the race, Talk and Co.
Talk and Co. Best
Second
horse
best
in the
horse.
race.
Up to 1,200.
Best horse in the race at 1,400 to the size. That's when you'll get your money. So you can go again then in the size. Castle Road, wind was good. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it was a little bit gifted with the car crash that happened behind it on the day. I'm not going to name names.
I will if you want.
Look, the two horses that I want to go out, that I want to just have a look at outside of Yes Queen and Talk and Co is one, Snitzelada. I don't think we've really seen the best of her yet, and she's 2 from 2. The gate obviously is really, really disgusting for it. It's got the opposite to the Golden Switch. It goes from 1 to 15. And then you've got Just to Fly, which has the Golden Switch, comes in from 10 into 2. gets no disrespect to CJP, but Zach Lloyd goes on. I could see them punching up and just making Castle Road work a little bit early. It's a capacity field 2-year-old lineup, so you're going to get a 3 deep, 4 deep line regardless. And I think that just plays into the hands of Yes Queen and Talk and Co. Look, I think
Almost think drawing directly outside Talk and Co will be a blessing. You can sort of
I think
try
so.
and sit one further outside her and dictate to her when she can go.
Yeah, and look, I think correct me if I'm wrong, Toby, but it looked like she settled a little bit better when being ridden with a sit.
I I think he over restrained to get all the way back, and then then he asked her to go again, and she definitely settled better with the tongue tie and the winkers off. But I think she'll settle even better again when he doesn't have to really restrain her heavily to get all the
Yeah,
way back and into a spot where she can just really float out wherever she wants, and the race will build shape around where
yeah,
she is pretty much.
yeah, absolutely. And I think we touched on it. If she was to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 in this race, it would have been, forced your hand. You're going to have to try and go forward rather than getting stuck behind. But she's drawn that plum gate on Saturday, so I I can only imagine the entire world's going to be chipping Yes Queen. So it's not any groundbreaking news from my end, but I think Yes Queens are clear on top of for me. Talk and Co win the size, and then you've got Snitzalade and Just to Fly, third and
Something will
fourth for
come out
me.
of right field to win the size.
I don't know.
So, Quaddy, we have to have Talk and Co in and Yes Queen. I want to have Castle Road, but
I
I'll
want Just to
accept.
Fly. I'll take Just to Fly if we want a third.
Yeah, I'd take Just to Fly if we want a third.
All right, so Quaddy, firstly, we've got number 4, Just to Fly, number 7, Talk and Co, number 8, Yes Queen.
And then play a second one with Yes Queen, one out.
Play third one with Talk and Co, one out. Race 8, the feature, well, the main feature of the two, the QUOKKA Overpass, $2.10, Western Empire, $6.50, Headwall, $6.50, Front Page, $8, Boss Lady, 11, West Star, $15, Joker's Grin, $18, and the map, well, I mean, we've got two obvious designated leaders here, an Overpass and Front Page. I think Overpass will do enough to kick up and hold the front, but I've seen some commentary around saying, this might be the undoing of Overpass having another fast horse, but I think it's actually going to work in its favor, isn't it? There's going to be no mid-race moves. These two have got
No.
really high cruising speeds, and they can just both sit there. And the first one to actually make a move in the race, I think, is going to be one of the two leaders here. It's going to be really hard to beat Overpass. The interesting thing for me was finding the behind lead horse, Toby. Who have you got
I think it might be
second?
West Star.
Okay. Yeah, I wrestled with that one.
Magnificent Andy has no gate speed. The Boss Lady has no gate speed. Generosity has no gate speed. Brave Spirit doesn't have much. Wrote them in's only got a little bit, and I don't think he's going at his best. Left me with sort of Western Empire, and then I don't know much about Cricketti and Headwall, but Cricketti didn't look to have that much from the replays out of the gates that I watched them. Same with Headwall. So I thought West Star, I think, and they're a pretty good, like smart stable. I thought they might look at this and think this is our chance to get pretty close despite the gate and earn some prize money, and if not, be a blowout win chance. There's been a lot of commentary through the week saying if you're looking to get Overpass beat, you're just going to waste your money. I wouldn't be that strong on it, but I do think it looks really tricky. He's won all these races over here from OSL most of the time. This time he looks to get the front, and even if he doesn't, he's still probably pretty hard to beat. I was hoping for the spectacle of it all that we'd get a second leader in the race, which we did through Front Page, and that Front Page would draw underneath him. That wasn't to be, so I think he looks a pretty good chance of making it 6 from 6.
This one will probably be a question for you, Aaron. The Galaxy or the TJ form?
Well, they're very different tracks, the way that they played, but for this race, you definitely favour the TJ for sure. With two designated leaders that are going to go along, it's a proper 1200. This is sort of what I was talking to you about with Joker's Grin a few weeks ago. like some of these horses in WA. So, like for reference, like some people have said Overpass had it a little bit easy. Some of its race in WA. The horses that are in this race that have actually run at 1200 in WA that have gone anywhere near what Overpass has done, and they haven't done it. There's one horse, and it was Snowdom, which, looking at the dates, must be the Winterbottom, which settled a length off the leader at the 800, and it got beat 8 lengths.
Also isn't
Like
in
this
the
is
field because he's
Third
was
emergency.
Snowdom.
he's emergency.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
I know
there,
what you mean
there
though.
you
Yeah.
go. But
Yeah, I
like,
know. Yeah.
this is just so brutally run versus like there's some horses like Joker's Green and Generosity and whatnot. They've got electric turn of foots, but they're going to have to go 8 lengths faster than they've ever gone in their career just to be within a contact point, and then let down the same turn of foot. It's just a different game with some of these Eastern States horses. It's just
Yeah.
the
It was
reality.
just a question for my end because obviously we've seen what Private Harry's done in the
It's a freak.
Galaxy
Yeah,
free
yeah,
course,
it's a
right?
freak.
And it's
Yeah,
beaten Briasa home.
yeah,
Briasa then has come out, won the TJ. So I
yeah.
wasn't
And they got
sure if
beaten the
you,
all age
and
stakes
then
by Jimmy
yeah,
Star.
stretching to 14. So I
Oh,
wasn't
Briasa.
sure.
Yeah, Briasa did have an
Yeah,
absolute PR in the
TJ.
yeah, in the TJ,
Yeah,
but I would lean to that as the form line.
I
yeah,
also still are absolutely, obviously, cannot be as bullish as I was a fortnight ago, but I refuse to give up hope that Joker's Grin is not a chance. Probably needed to draw better to be a great chance, but just think he hit the front too soon last start, wobbled around, kept going with the boss lady when she learned to him, and she's got a really good turn of foot. So I think if you swap their runs, I think he might have got over the top of her. I don't want to say that he would have because that's obviously too hard to say, but I obviously at this stage just think he's better chasing and really thought this was a good opportunity to watch him do it with a really good bunny in overpass rather than what he had last start to chase down where he hit the front at about the 250. But 13 means he'll be last, and I don't. There'll probably be a 3 wide line, but it won't be the strongest 3 wide line. So again, thinking that overpass is going to be incredibly hard to beat.
Yeah, Kevin and I might have a can of Coke wager on Headwall versus Joker's Grin, who's first past the post. I think I
well, at
might be
least
in front
Joker's
on that
Grin
one.
won't get
Well,
all the.
it's going to
Joker's
be
Grin
three
won't have
cans of
any of
Coke to
this.
one.
No, it was even. It was
It
evens.
was
It was about a
evens.
month ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
At least Joker's Grin
lucky
won't have
Kev.
any slow ones falling into its lap.
Yeah, that's true. Cripper, we've got a gun on speed horse. What are you doing in this race?
Yeah, nah, I think it's pretty hard to find any chinks in the armor of the champ. There is one slight nag I have in the back of my mind, and it is slight, but just that I do think, and he goes better fresh. The one thing I just always
Yeah.
remember was Josh Parr was on racing radio on the Monday after last year's Winterbottom, and I remember because he came in that on that run of 21 days. And even though he admittedly failed the start before, but I remember Josh Parr said in the interview, after 300 metres, he actually said, "Oh God, I don't have the same horse underneath me."
Yeah.
And sure enough, he was still good enough to win, albeit the runner-up, which the name escapes me, probably if he doesn't miss the kick when it got held in the gates, yeah, he probably would have beaten Overpass that day. But like you boys have touched on, I think this is probably the most suitable map.
Mahava
Was it
Yeah.
Mojave? Yeah,
in the
he missed it
Winterbottom.
by 4 lengths, and
I only
then
remember because I was on. Yeah.
you never forget that one. And yeah, this is probably the most suitable map I reckon he's got in any of his starts in WA. He gets the light easterly wind.
Yeah.
I mean, if he turns up, like how do they beat him? It's probably similar to a couple of other shorties I've said on the card. I don't bet futures, and I was looking at that $2.50 on Monday and Tuesday, and in my head it just looked like a good price. And anyway, by the time I got to my form on Wednesday, he was into even money. And while I'm super keen, I'm not taking even money. I've sort of marked him about that. So I think at $2.50 he would have been a super bet. But in saying that, he's actually from memory, he's been easy a couple of times in the market in his WA run. So it will be interesting to see what he does on the day, his price. But yeah, I mean, I think if he turns up, he just wins. I didn't watch a lot of the over race replays, but I did watch his last one with Headwall. Don't know much about Headwall at all, but if you just looked at two horses without taking into account their starting price or prior form, you could probably make a case that that Headwall could have beaten him with even luck. And Toby made a good point just with what he was saying with West Star maybe finding the box seat. I don't know if you guys will be able to help me here. Does Headwall, I did read somewhere in the last couple of days that Headwall actually has a little bit of gate speed. Could he potentially settle in the first five or
It
six, or
it,
am I
it
dreaming
used to be
that?
1,000 meter horse, and it's sort of surprised a few of us in the East how well it's actually gone at the 1,200. It used to just be like an out and out 1,000 meter bomb, particularly at the midweeks, and then it just sort of exploded. And it's been a different horse this preparation and getting held up there. Yeah, like in this race, I think it can. A few people have got it settling right out the back. I think it can be more forward. So
That
just
might
get
just
some.
be a little bit of recency bias from that TJ.
What's
Or was
that?
it the Galaxy? Like recency bias, how it just flopped out the back and then made its run.
I watched
Oh,
him. I watched his 3 runs this prep, and
it
I
doesn't
don't
settle
think he
forward.
showed. But I mean, they never asked him either. So that's the thing
Yeah,
is,
but
if you look at if they look at this field, see that there's the option to be a bit closer because of the rest of them, and
that's what I
give him
mean.
half a dig, he might be able to. But off what
Yeah.
I watched, I didn't see it.
Yeah, because there's going to be
Is
a few just standing looking, what do these two
yeah.
leaders actually do for the first 100 meters? And there might be a chance to actually use that portion of the race.
Yeah. Is there any possibility that Joker's Grin tries to follow front page and overpass across? He's shown tactical
Yeah,
speed in the past.
that's
It
not.
is.
Have you met Patrick Carberry?
Yeah, unfortunately, I
Come
have.
on, mate. Probably last.
It was
That's
just.
probably
It's
what
just.
Toby said, and he's probably he knows he might have hit the front too early last
Yeah.
start, so you think there might be a knee jerk reaction there where I reckon
He's actually
he'll
he's
want to
already
settle
written
back
his
and
beaten
score
jockey
home.
speech. Oh, sorry.
It's good for my
Are we
luck,
going to
Kev.
touch on Western Empire?
We can, of
Um,
course.
Trial was fantastic.
I thought the
I
recent
thought.
one was a little bit poor
Okay,
for
agree
coming
to
into this.
disagree.
Yeah, I thought the one when he led was a little bit left to be desired as well. So I got
I thought the
stuck in
first one was
Western
good though. Yeah.
Empire in the Winterbottom. I know things didn't go his way, but yeah, once bitten, twice shy for me. Don't think it's a 1,200 meter horse.
And
Yeah,
they've been on radio and said the same thing. So
yeah, yeah. Just for me looks. I mean, I thought the trial was good, but just 650 for a horse that we know is probably better up deeper into his prep as well. And at 1,200 just looks a little skinny, I thought. 650.
Yeah, I think Toby nailed it from the yard, their third up last campaign, didn't he? He certainly got an eye
It
for
was
the
at
horse.
the gold rush.
Yeah, when it won at $7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the same commentary you're sort of referring to, Cripper with Overpass with its second up record. I went back and actually looked at some of those runs. It wasn't a superstar early. I've sort of discounted some of the earlier stuff. One of the seconds was to Giga Kick in the Doom in 10,000, which was a narrow margin. And I don't know, you sort of look at it and you go, it should make more sense for a leader or an on-speed horse to actually improve second up, but the first up record does suggest it goes better fresh. So it's a bit of a curveball actually coming into WA second up this time. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the market does late with this horse. Do they take it on or just concede? It's the champ. What are you doing?
uh, do we go one out or do
Uh,
we play it a bit wider?
you either go one out or you have six horses in. There's no in
Yeah.
between. I'd go one out.
Yep.
Vote panel.
One
Cripper,
out.
Kev.
One out. Yep.
Moving right along. Race 9 of the 1,200 Saloon Bath Pike, $3.70 Twain's Angel 5.50, Ripcord $6, Petula 8, Snowdome, who's an emergence in the previous race here, $9.50. In the backup, Laced Up Hills $12, Search and Rocks $19, Comfort Me 20, and Maps died Savvy, so take us away.
Lots of speed. Think Oxbridge will look to hold the front. He sort of, after winning the 1,000 meter sprint on Perth Cup Day from the 1-1, they looked to take a sit last start. It didn't really work. I think in this race he has the gate speed to hold the front, so I think they'll do that. After that, there's plenty of speed coming across from out wider. Snowdome looks to, don't know how aggressively they do, just because I don't know if he's at his best. The day he won by 3 lengths, he was at his best and he went enormous. And then he sort of regressed a bit and still won the Pinjarra Cup Classic. And then he regressed further and got beaten in the Bluff Knoll, albeit without the greatest run in transit. I just think if he was at his best and a good chance of winning this race, I think Brad Parnham would be riding him. And Brad Parnham chooses to ride Ripcord. So that is a big negative for me to Snowdome recapturing his best. Is I think that Brad would know and would be riding him if he was. Ripcord trialled nice. Really hard to get a gauge in some of these Luke Fernie horses who went really good early doors and then have had preps where they've gone right off. And Devoted sort of came up a little bit again, his most recent prep, but probably not to his best.
I think with
As I said,
I think with the Ripcord prep, you just put a line through everything he did in Melbourne.
yeah, and then he came,
That's what I've
and then
done.
he came back, drew a bad gate, and
Different
had
kettle of
nothing
fish,
go
Kev.
right. As I said at the top of the show, this race is a lottery. Thought the most likely winner was Saloon Bar getting it to 1200 and keeping Pike from a decent gate, but probably is short enough considering it's not going to be straightforward with the capacity field. Twain's Angel, I thought tried better than Western Empire. Jaws Barrier 1 probably ends up behind Oxbridge. Could be a pretty sticky spot come the 400. But Chulab went a lot better last start behind West Star, who I've said is probably a good place chance in the QUOKKA. Sticky gate, laced up heels. I thought she tried a lot better than last prep. Very sticky gate. Pretty happy with this race, just to see what the track's doing, I'd say, at this stage.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the track's doing at this stage because Twain's Angel did win a race on this meeting last year, settling on the rail. It was a bit of a tearaway leader, got back to the third, and it won quite
Yeah,
comfortably.
she's not going to get the open sit here.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the track plays, though, if the inside's any good or not. Ripper, what are you doing here, 1200?
Oh no, exactly what Toby said. And it's almost like he'd read my mind. Just absolute raffle of the race. Saloon Bar best winning chance, but short enough. I don't even really have a lean for you here. Like I'm just looking at my market, and there's nothing that I could even push you into. Like Toby said, some of Snowdome's best runs, his prep would definitely be good enough to win, but he wasn't. Well, he got caught deep last start at Albany, so he had excuses. But now, 41 days between runs, drawn outside a stack of speed. It'd take a really good training effort and a really good ride to win. Petula was a funny horse because she trialled so good and then first up went absolutely horrible, but really bounced back hard second up. So, look, if she'd drawn a gate, she could be one that I would somewhat entertain, but from sort of barrier 13, or she might come in one or two, but yeah, not really my type of horse. And yeah, I feel like I'm just looking down the market. There's just nothing that that I can warm to whatsoever. I thought Ripcord was actually a little bit short. Yeah, the trial was good, but he just needs to probably do it now. Hasn't won for over 500 days. Even his preparation before he went to Melbourne was a little bit below what you'd need to do to win a race like this. He hasn't really performed at a high enough level since his 3-year-old campaign when he ran, was it third in last year's,
First
we
time.
talked 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was the one, Munamek one. Gold Rush, we're talking about?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a while ago anyway. So
Darren called it home.
second to Munamek and third to.
I don't want to talk about it.
He got excited too, Darren.
Here
So
comes
did CJP. Real hard pass for me.
Kev, 1200.
Yeah, look, I think Saloon Bar for me is arguably the biggest tease horse in WA outside of So So Lucky.
Yeah.
He's always around the mark, but that's about as good as he goes. Like he's around the mark, he's there, he's in the finish. His form lines are second to none, but he just struggles to just keep on going. He obviously draws a kind of gate. I'm happy to take the risk on Ripcord. Didn't trial in the cups and tried really well. They've gone for Winkers on. Brad Parnham obviously elects to ride over Snowdome. I think he's getting to get enough speed in this race to hopefully show that he's back to his best now that he's had a full prep in WA. I think you can just put a line through the Melbourne prep and then obviously rushing back for or was it the Gold Rush last year? So I'm happy to pen everything he did to the back end of last year, and I think if he puts his best foot forward, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins.
Yeah, I think just like Cripper said, you'd want to see him do it before you went around taking $6 in a race like this.
Definitely. Tongue tie
Yeah,
first time.
yeah, I know, I know. There's a lot of question marks about, but I just don't. I mean, he'd be a great horse to hear your opinion from the yard, Toby. But I just
Yeah, but I love Devoted his first or one of his fresh runs back, and he went fine. He ran into third, but with the run he got, I thought it was a little bit disappointing. So
yeah, and look, he comes into gate 7 after emergency route. Think
he,
think
no, one below what
Ice
he's in now. 8.
Ice Picnic and Captain Chaos are
Ice
drawn
Picnic's already got to
underneath.
start. Ice Picnic's already got
Oh,
to
he's got to
start.
start. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, gate 8. Look, it's not like he's going to be dragged back to last. He'll probably be sitting midfield, running line. Um, I'd be interested to see what the market does. I'd suspect we're going to get better on the day.
Horse, I'm interested to see how it comes back. I don't think it'll do anything in this race, but I'm very interested to see what Yonga Lass does. Hoping it just does nothing, but as a sneaky good run, and we might be able to get something third up. I think that horse got some talent. Excited to see
Back
it
to
return.
Belmont.
Yeah, it's getting to that time of the year, isn't it? The third
Yeah.
up. It's just going to sort of, it might be a time to really step in and bet up on that one if it does anything
Yeah.
first up.
It's really annoying, the straight trials. I can't get a grasp on them at the moment.
And like it was gone for
Yeah.
3 months, and I hate it. You've got either sand fiber, which is crap, or the straight, which is I don't know which is worse.
So the straight.
Straight's worse. Yeah.
I'll take back straight trials at Larkhill every day of the week before either of those other options. And I hate back straight trials.
So,
Took him to race 10 to blow up, Daniel.
no, well, no,
Worth the wait.
What did you set the line at?
6.5. I've missed.
Yeah,
I've
and
missed.
fucking made a shit line as well.
Well, I think that was a mini blow up at one point.
Yeah,
I'll
probably.
check the
That
tapes back there.
that sounds
Well,
like me.
problem. Quaddy, what are we doing?
Field, nah.
It's close.
uh, I think you throw Comfort Me in. He
Yep,
flopped
definitely.
in the Roma Cup last year. I know that was with Shades and they ripped him straight off, but he
Just
flopped in the
going to
Roma
be
Cup
there.
last year. Went a lot better in the Joey. Do you throw Snowdome in?
I'd say yes.
Saloon Bar goes in.
Yeah. Ripcord goes in.
All right.
Okay.
Look, I'm just going to end up saying to throw all the other favourites in. The only other one I'll really push for is, which I would definitely leave until race 7 to place the quaddy, would be either throwing Twine's Angel or Laced Up Heels and Petula, depending on what the
Twine's
track's
Angel.
doing.
Cripper, you got a roughie for us to throw in there before
Yeah, I was probably going to say Comfort Me just because of how quick
Yeah,
that horse can improve. But it's one of those, I feel like one of those races you'll throw 10 horses in and then Saloon Bar will get up. And it's just
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all gone. But it does, yeah, Comfort Me seems like I was want to back.
But it's fine if you
have
go
it
one out
in a
into one
quaddy.
out.
Talking Co into Saloon Bar. So we got Comfort Me, Ripcord, Snowdome, Saloon Bar, and Twain's Angel.
Yeah, just wait till race 7 to place it and see what the track's doing.
Well, you normally update it in your channel as well. Race 10, last race of the day, the 1500, and Basak, $4 favourite. Gage Roads $5.50. Close at hand for Billy Egan $6.50. Brazen Empress $8.50. Dennis Shoe 10. Feuding 11. Dialing $12. And not a hell of a lot of speed, but 3 horses that look like they want to all find the front, Toby. So it might be keen for the first little portion.
With the jocks engaged, I'll say tentative no. I think Busak, they bounced him out last start from a wide gate, probably looking to half find a spot and bailed way too quick and got planted. Thinking with the gate here, they'll be able to put themselves a bit closer. I think Gage Roads will work forward to a spot, and then I think Brazen Empress Botalk, your lead breeze horse, and just depends how quickly Lucy wants to come across, whether she is leading or in that breeze position, being that bit more conservative rider, although so is Lactar a bit to an extent. Found it really interesting that Lactar is off Bursack and onto Botalk. Whether that means, I really didn't know. I thought maybe they might have just sacked him after a couple. Not that it's been entirely his fault, the last couple, but perhaps just trying something different. Don't mind Troy Turner going on all that much. Think he's tentatively say he's the most progressive horse in the race. He's a class one, but he's started hard in the market in a bunch of races that are very similar to this one and put in some pretty good runs. So think he's a deserving favourite. Wasn't sure where the market would have him early, but thought he might get backed at some stage, as he often does. From there, just close at hand, gets a senior rider and an Eastern States rider, and a soft gate probably suits him and shouldn't be too far back considering the setup of the line. Your on-speed horses, if it's on speed, they might still get away with a bit, despite the fact that it's showing. Yeah, really tricky race to win proceedings.
Cripper, close us out.
Does not get any easier, Marcus. Each way odds of field. I had close at hand on top, and at least he's an each way price at sort of $6. 2 starts ago, ran third to sale session, really similar run to Gage Roads. And then last start, Apprentice went on, definitely should have won that race with even luck. So
badly held up, wasn't it?
Yeah, held up multiple times, just sort of zigging and zagging behind him with nowhere to go, which is sort of, if you back that horse, it's what you got to cop sometimes with the apprentices. You take the good and the bad.
I was on, that's the problem. So they get that luck.
I don't know much about Billy Egan. It's interesting that Pike doesn't have a ride in the race.
I was just thinking
Kev's
going
to actually have to do form on the last now instead of just going Pike on the last.
But I'm guessing Billy Egan's
you can just back Pike's ride.
Billy Egan's good. He's got good balance, good hands. He's a good rider. Yep.
It would be a nice upgrade either way. So for the sake of a tip, he will go on top. Gage Rose is consistent. Will Matt well, so he's another hope. I think Busak. I just think that he goes okay, but I don't think he's as good as what the market thinks he is at the moment. And probably disagree with Toby in a sense. If you're going to sack Lucky, I think Troy Turner's really struggling for winners at the moment. I think that's a bit of a jockey downgrade, but as they say, sometimes a change is as good as a holiday. So maybe they just wanted to try something new. But I personally would have stuck with Lucky if I had the choice of the two. Outside of that, there wasn't really any at odds that caught the eye. Maybe Dennis Hugh got caught deep last start, hit the line okay, map soft, but clutching at straws to finish.
Yeah, I'm going to follow myself in with close at hand as well off last start, getting the same price and stronger, but I think I tend to agree should have won that race. And Kev, my moral's running now at Pakenham, so feel free to talk for a minute 30, please.
How do I talk about backing Pike? Because it's pretty much what I'm going to do. I don't have any opinion on this.
Are you
race.
just going to be hoping that someone falls off, not bad enough to really hurt themselves, but just enough to get taken off their rides and Pike find something? Or
nah, never. He's the most painful bloke he's just so painful. I just didn't have an opinion on this race. For me, it was just too hard. Busak, he's just got such a strong SP profile that I'm not shocked that he's $4, but he's just he's another one of those horses that's just thereabouts. So
you'd want to, if you were still following your money, you'd want to see him do it this start with a likely better run in transit.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be do or die for him.
It is, and like Cripper touched upon, I don't know if Troy Turner is the best of upgrades of this situation. Like he goes to what? Um, yeah, he went to Gero yesterday, which is normally his place for a cheeky kill, and he struggled out there. So um,
Mind you,
yeah,
that track's also getting really well, not overly hard to pin on because I think it's very fence and run, but I don't think the participants have figured that out based on watching the last race. I think they
yeah,
might think it's leaders.
yeah, probably. But yeah, no, look for me, I didn't have an opinion here.
So what do we do with the quad?
Another great question.
Tricky.
Do
Definitely
you
one.
just go 1, 2, and 10? You're not really going to lob a result, but you're just hoping to make it through.
I'd have the 7
Yeah.
in.
Don't stew.
Just saying double
Yeah.
figures that you can cheer for, but
And it went a lot better last start, and his best would be good enough to win a race like this.
Yep. All right, we'll go 1, 2, 7, and 10. Lastly, the quaddy. Kev, give us your best on the day.
Best on the day. Um, just scroll through. Yeah, look, I'm happy to put my eggs into the Yes Queen basket. I do love my 2-year-olds. I love the Caracatta. I've seen enough from what she's done this prep. So, all aboard Yes Queen. I think, um, what was the other one? I'm happy to follow up on Western Power again. I think he's
Okay.
probably the most progressive horse in the race. I think up the step up to a mile suits, and he'll be out of trouble and he'll be able to dictate things on the speed.
They got a nice profile. Toby, won't ask you for your best as usual. They'll be reserved for the sheets. Should be a link in this video to get access to Toby's early assessments, which are already out. And
The Thursday off for a
is
change.
late Myanmar with taking suggestions as well. Yes, beautifully done. Cripper, give us your best on the day if you would like to.
I reckon I've been talking to Kev for about 12 months coming on this show, and finally the day arrived. And after all of that, I'm going to come on and
There's no best.
dribble for an hour and then tip 3 even money pops. So it's riveting content and analysis.
I reckon the same
Good
thing
yeah.
happened when Terry came on. I reckon when Terry came on for a week, he loved a shocking program too.
I said to Kev, I was like, let's wait for QUOKKA Day. It's going to be an unreal card. Last year was such
Last
an
year was a
exciting
ripper
card.
card.
It was, and then I just don't know. Just have a few races that only pay 1, 2, and 4 single digit fields is disappointing. But anyway, I think the price is currently out there. But I think race 3 V Bardo, race 5 6-inch heels, and race 8 the Champ Overpass. They're all pretty short, but I reckon they all look really well suited, and would be pretty disappointed if they're not going very close.
Cripper, I was telling someone the other day, and I know you were utilized in the Karawar tab. This is like $50 at 1, 2, 3, and there were like 6-horse fields, and it was like max $50 on your account. But it
Was
worked through the terminal if you were doing it in 50. Do you remember
that the
that?
money back place? Was it?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, money back,
Yeah,
not
that.
bonus bets. And it was like
Yeah.
doing it with the tickets. And I saw you. We were both on like either ends of the Carolee tab, and we are just like feeding notes in. I do remember
Uh,
that, and you just
yeah.
reminded me of the pay one too.
I'll tell you what, if
Uh,
you gone back 15 years, was there ever a better promo at the tab than the Big Bash one when if your team made 150 but lost, you got your money back? So you could just go
yeah,
there and sit there all day and just put tickets through and just back both teams. Like,
when it
oh,
wasn't on the account.
they
Yeah,
were the good old days. That and odds going up and just not collapsing within 3 seconds of going.
yeah, sitting there pending. Well, thanks for coming on, Cripper. Obviously, you didn't give yourself a plug there with your stuff, but you're obviously been professional for a long period of time. You've got your own service, which is going very well. So if anyone who wants to get access to your information, they can go to Twitter,
Yeah, Twitter, cripsracing.com or follow me on
cripsracing.com.
Twitter. Cripper_92 or at Cripps Racing. Yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. And thank you, boys. Yeah, really appreciate getting on finally. And yeah, we'd love to do it again soon. Maybe on a card where there's a little bit more meat on the bone.
First meeting back at Belmont when everyone starts their horses again.
Actually, have some fields to talk about.
Awesome.
Look forward to it. Good luck, guys.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.